Cache-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to the GeoGearHeads. This is episode 373. And tonight we're going to be talking about caches along routes. This is actually the third time we've talked about this. I'm Daryl W4 for Chris of the Northwest. Welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome back. And eventually we're going to take that trip that we keep planning. This is the third time we've talked about it, but we're just actually not going anywhere.
Well, we've taken a few trips together, including Geo Woodstock recently.
You're right. But apparently not along a route.
Yep. Well, we did do some routes.
Oh.
A donut one.
Yeah, see, and the donut trail doesn't really work for caches along a route.
No.
And that other voice is my wife. She's joining us today, Renee W25, and
Hello.
she'll be our newbie because you have never used the caches along a route feature.
I have not.
So you'll be learning this as we talk about it today.
We've been
You'll
talking
be
about
learning
routes
it
for 3 years.
As
Yes.
we do.
Well, and this is one of the weird things is that some of this stuff has actually changed a little bit, mostly like how you get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because before the show, because frankly we've been too busy that we haven't done as much show prep as that we'd like before the show. But before the show, we started getting into this and trying to figure out how to get there as we were setting up the windows and everything to hit the browser. And they've changed the name of this. So why don't we jump right into it? And on geocaching.com, and we need to start with, this is actually a premium member feature. So if you're not a premium member, this whole show pretty much isn't going to help you out.
Oh, no.
So if you are a premium member.
I am as of yesterday again.
Oh, very
Ooh,
good.
Congratulations.
If you are a premium member, you go to your account dashboard and scroll down, and there's a whole list down here of premium tools. And what we're looking for today is the user routes, which is the thing that lets you do creation of routes, uploading of routes. And we're not really going to talk too much today about the uploading a route, but you can do that. Well, I'll take a look at that real quick. It's a tab up here. Upload a route.
Have you ever actually done that, Daryl?
I've done that many, many times, especially for like
have
bike
you?
trails. Yes.
Okay.
I used to draw them in Google Earth, or you can actually take your track file from like the GPS and upload those. So if you have a GPX, a KMZ, or a KML route file, you can upload them. So for like bike routes, this is really, really handy because all you have to do is upload the rail trail and do it with all these power trails. That's a really handy feature. But the nice thing is many times you can actually search for the existing routes here and create your own pocket query from that. So a lot of those bike trails are already going to be up here. So, all you have to do is make your route public and anyone can get to it. So search for the location and you might find it. Search for the name. That's actually with keywords. That's actually where I've had the best luck. Let's see if I can actually find this real quick.
So did you use pocket queries or did you use the route planner like when we went to Cincinnati or when we went anywhere else and we were trying to get at least one, like when we went to Chicago, we were trying to get at least one cache in each state, but we kept getting snowed out of it.
Okay. That's actually several different things going on, but
okay.
The caches along a route is basically a combination of these routes that you're creating and a pocket query. So you need to kind of have both.
Okay.
So first thing we have to do is figure out our route. And here's one of the ones that I hand drew with Google Earth is this Clinton River Trail. So this is one that I hand drew and uploaded, and it's the complete Clinton River Trail.
And we've done part of that.
Yeah, we've done a small little portion, like right in here.
Right in the middle. Only
We're
10
supposed to
miles
start
that
from one
weekend.
end.
Yeah,
didn't.
well, we had some new caches that were published over there.
We did go there though.
Yeah, we've been through most of it. Now, the interesting thing is this part of the Clinton River Trail is not actually like real trail. It's actually city sidewalks and stuff like that. So not that it matters, but it's the temporary connector.
And it's also a really, really long trail.
It is. It's not as long as some of the others.
Well, we did 10 miles of it though. That one weekend when we went back to 2 days.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump back to creating a route, because this is what most people are going to do, the way most people are going to do it. And we'll say, we'll call this Washington trip. Okay, so you give it your name. I can type. I'm sorry, folks.
Well, Washington is difficult to spell.
Washington.
And I've got the keyboard way too far from me, and this is going to make great audio. So from the routes page, and if you're going to try to type this in, you're silly, but you can do it. It's geocaching.com/my/userroutes.aspx. So there's the 4 tabs up there that give you your basic options for the first 2 are for the search. The second 2 are for adding a new one. So create a new route actually lets you go between 2 different cities.
And look,
or
you're
whatever.
going from Seattle to Portland.
Now here's one of the things that always annoys me. You cannot use cache locations. You can't use a GC code.
You can use cities, addresses. What else? Postal code.
I think airport codes have worked before. Actually, let me try that.
Wait, so for example, if we put
to SEA.
Okay.
Well, that's going to be too far, because this is one of the things that I should have noticed before, or noted before. You're limited to 500 miles overall, and also 500 points. So if you have a 500-mile journey, it has to streamline that to like roughly every mile is when it can put a marker in. So the routes that you're going to create in here are not going to be very good as far as accuracy. All right, so let's search for DTW to Washington, D.C. There we go. So now we have our route. And see, this isn't going to work because it's longer than 500 miles.
So if we put in like
Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Well, I was going to go from New York. If I can spell it correctly. We want to go and do all of those virtual caches.
It's going to be even further, isn't it?
I didn't like that one at all.
Oh,
no, it didn't.
Why did it not like that?
Put
There it goes. Okay, so see, this one is good. And this is one of the annoying things. It doesn't give you your distance on here unless it's over.
It's only if it's over. It doesn't tell you how far it is if it's valid.
So before we move on to actually accept this, one of the very, very important things is you can take your points and move them around. So let's say I want to end up at the Lincoln Memorial. I just grab my B pin, which is the destination, and I can drop it there.
And you can add another pin.
Yeah, you can add waypoints in the intermediate steps. As I wiggle around here, let me get back to New York. See, so New York, it's just going to take us to New York, but we want to start from, we'll say, Washington Square Park. Okay, so now we've adjusted just that easily. But, we're going through Trenton, and, boy, we really want to go through Trenton. Hamilton. So you just grab... Yeah, we'll go to Hamilton Township here.
There you go.
We just grab the line and drop it somewhere that you want to go, and all of a sudden it reroutes. So that's really, really handy. And one of the things that I've actually done many, many times is when I'm going on a shorter trip that's like a point-to-point, and I want to get all of the things around that event, as I make hand gestures that no one's going to see. I will actually
I'll do
take,
for you. There.
Thank you. I will actually take and draw, drop in a few points to make like little circles almost around, so that I know I'm going to get more of the city in, more of the caches in the city as I do it.
Okay. Well, here, Daryl, I'll share a screenshot here of mine. So I've created one for my town that will cover when you expand out the distances, expand out the radius around.
Right.
It will cover the city of Tacoma. So, the path looks odd, but I needed it just to cover the pointy little city here of Tacoma.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not really start to finish. I just wanted to blanket the area.
Right. You're not looking for the whole, or you're not looking for a specific route. You're just planning, or you're just using the feature to get the best coverage of the area for your driving. And I've known a lot of people who will do the same thing. I have 2 routes, for instance, that I take to work, and I want to cover both and get all the caches around those. So you create this circular route, basically.
Right.
And then you set the threshold up to its full distance when you create the pocket query.
So in Tacoma, to the northwest, there's a toll bridge. So I didn't want to get caches on the other side of the toll bridge that are just going to, mock me until I'm willing to pay money to go over there.
Which is what they do best.
Yes. So that's why I didn't just do a circle, right there in the center of Tacoma, because it'll include that toll bridge.
Yeah.
And I went over the bridge. They didn't tell me nothing.
Well, that wasn't very nice of them. All right. So going back now, we've created the route, and you end up with this create or edit a route page, which really doesn't do a whole lot for you. This is just your review. You can't edit it. You can't edit the actual route once you're here. It's fixed. It's done. You're just looking at it. But you can go and make sure that that's what you wanted. And oops, scrolled too fast. Sorry. This actually does give you the distance here after it's created. And this you'll have for just about anything. It's whether you can edit or not. Any of the routes that you find on the site. So this one, you can rename it. We can give it a description, enter our keywords. And then I was telling you about the include in public directory. Well, this is the really, really cool thing that lets you create a bike trail or whatever and let it be known to everyone. So for instance, if you are creating a power trail, you could actually create a route and share that and let anyone create the route for that one. Or, use that route to create their pocket queries. So from here, you can actually download a GPX of the route if you want to load that into like your GPS. But the link that we're looking for is this create pocket query of route. And that's when we start getting into the real power.
Unlimited power.
Well, it is kind of limited because it works pretty much like pocket queries work. And before we actually get into this part of it, Renee, questions about the creating of the route or naming?
If I'm understanding correctly, you create this route, like this is where we're going. And then when there's somewhere that you want to look for more specifically, you want to look for your actual points of where to go, that's a pocket query?
The pocket query is what generates the list of caches from the route.
Okay.
Because a pocket query, all you're doing is giving with a route is the shape that it's going to search around.
Okay. So this is where I want to go, and this is the area I want to cover.
Yeah, this is where this is the route that I'm going on. So this is where I want to search. You're just giving it a very, very specific search criteria that is a lot more defined than, search around my zip code.
Okay.
Or from, where I stand right now.
So like, for example, if we were going to drive cross country to Washington or something like that. We could do it in chunks of 500 miles and approximately figure out where we might want to stop for lunch and do some caching at lunchtime or whatever.
Yeah, you don't really figure out your stops in here. That would be Cache Torno.
Okay, but I meant after about 500 miles, where would you be in your day that you might want to stop?
Well, and that's actually a good thing we should pause to talk about too, Chris, is this is just the feature on geocaching.com.
And if you're willing to walk 500 miles and then 500 miles more.
Right.
Just to be the person that walks 1,000 miles to find the cache at your door. Anyway, so there are other options. You can do the same basic function in GSAC. Why can I not remember the name? Project GC.
Project GC. You mentioned Cache Tour.
Yeah, Cache Torno has a lot of this kind of stuff as well.
So yeah, there are many different tools that we're mainly focusing on the geocaching.com user routes. I'm learning to say that. I want to say caches along the route.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you access this from your phone as well?
No, this is, well, you can try it on the website, but it doesn't work very well. But you can't do it from within the apps.
Right.
No, you'd have to use the website on whatever device you want.
Got it.
So there are a lot of other options, and one of the things that Chris and I like to do is use this function in the maps at geocaching.com to cherry pick the caches that we want to use.
Okay.
So we'll create a bookmark list from this that will then import into things like Cache Torno, and we've done that a few times, to figure out what the best way to do those caches and timing and everything else can be. You can also give Cache Torno a whole series of the caches that you want to do and let it try to figure out the
best
route
way to do them,
which is really what it was built for.
Yeah, Cache Tour will also let you do addresses and destinations.
Yeah, and it lets you add some like food stops and other points of interest into it. So it's a nice tool for when you're actually being a tourist as well as a geocacher. But for
Cache Tour. See how that works? Cache Tour.
It's very nice.
For us, it makes it really handy when we're going on like a road trip, because I will take, and we'll go over this in a little bit, but I'll take all those rest stops, plan them out, and I'll actually put some of those notes in there and set the times and get a nice itinerary that we can go through. And if I really wanted to get particular about it, we could even go and plan like fuel stops. And it has in Cache Torno the fuel icon, and you can load that into the app on the phone to follow.
Right. And on the Cache Tour app, it's just waypoints that you're hitting. It will allow you to route to each individual one, but it's not really designed for, marking off your caches or your stops. More that, here's the next one.
Right.
Creates a list of stops.
Right. Well, and it will actually in the app let you jump over to your caching app of choice to do the finding and the logging, and then when you go back, you mark it as found.
Will it?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what we used last time?
Well, we've only used that a couple of times. The last time we used it was during the creatures promotion. What was that called?
Creatures of the Black Lagoon.
No.
Mystical
creatures. Mythical creatures. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, we used that mostly just so that we could test it, because it was a new app at that point. But I had gone and thrown all of the caches that we wanted to do in the order that we wanted to do them into the app. And hidden creatures, thank you, Johnny Cash 313 came up with that, hidden creatures. So yeah, that was the one that we actually used it on. So I've tried it a few times after that for like little things. Mostly it's been trying to learn the app. And that's one of the things that I'll recommend with this as well. Just play with it. If just take random routes, like I'm doing this New York to Washington, D.C., because I want to go do all those virtuals in D.C. that I haven't done. But it's not a tour that I'm going to do. It's just one that we decided to pick for doing the show because it's something to play with. And, playing with it is how you learn how to make this stuff work the way you want to work when you need to actually use it. All right, so let's get back to the Pocket Query now. This is where we're actually going to set up the caches that it's going to find for us. And we have the Washington trip, which was the name of the route that comes over by default. And there's also the link to view associated route. And this works like any of the other Pocket Queries, where it will send it to you repeatedly or at one given time, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be in your Pocket Query list, so you can click on it and go.
Do you want it to run one time, or do you want it to run a certain day of the week?
Sure.
Day or days of the week.
Okay.
And then you have the search radius, and this is where it actually gets really interesting, because we have the map, the route that we've created where it's going to go, and you can increase up to, I think it's it's only 6.21 miles, but that's 10 kilometers. And on the preview at the top, the light blue band actually gets wider as you increase that. So this is the maximum distance from the route. That's something to remember too. This is the maximum distance. It won't necessarily go this 10 kilometers if you wanted to, because the next thing is that number of caches on either side. So if you crank this up to 1,000 at 10 kilometers, for this route, we're probably going to hit that 1,000 caches long before we hit that 10 kilometers. So that's something to keep in mind. But when I'm looking for like those rest area caches, I usually take this down to less than 3/4 of a mile. Because if I do much more than that, I'm going to hit and I still will, quite frankly, those caches that are just outside of the range of getting off and doing, during a quick and easy stop on a road trip. But then you also have your cache types down here. So, if I'm looking for caches on a quick trip, I usually do just the traditionals and virtuals and earth caches. I don't usually have webcams, but I'll include those too, because if there's a webcam, I want to do it.
Exactly. There's
not many of them out there, but though they're typically fairly quick and easy. Earth caches, I just usually do because it's an earth cache, and I like to get earth caches in different states. But most of the time, when I've come across them, I end up nixing them in my cherry picking because they take too much time. And then you have your placed in. So if you want to say, okay, I only want like large containers, or regular and large, you can do all that kind of stuff. The filtering, I always do that I have not found and that I don't own, but is enabled. But you can also get into some of the more interesting stuff, like saying that it's available to all users. Like Renee didn't have her premium membership at one point. Early on.
That was hard. That was difficult to understand because I was trying to understand
I had to
what
keep
I was doing.
turning this flag on so that we would be able to do that.
Right.
And then if you want to say found in the last 7 days, that's really handy for those road trips. But I typically don't do that because it doesn't tend to return enough.
The travel bug one, I saw that on there. That's interesting. Like when there was
travel bug. There's no travel bug.
Have travel bugs.
Oh, that has travel bugs. Yes, if you're looking to find a cache with travel bugs in it.
And if there's travel bugs in it, you can probably take one and leave one when you need to do that, right?
Sure, but not necessarily, especially because people tend not to be very good about doing that. However, your size is typically the better indicator as to whether it would receive a trackable.
Got it.
That's why you might want to do just regulars and larges, because those would typically handle it. And then you have your terrain. So, if we're doing quick park and grabs, I usually set it for like less than or equal to 2.5, difficulty less than equal to 3, because that's typically going to be about the limit that I want during a road trip for the quick parking grabs.
You don't like to go way off in the. Where was that rest stop? You like went off in a field. There was no road.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah,
that was fun. Yeah, there's some of those rest stops that have a lot of land, like a lot more than they should, and you can just go and enjoy those.
Isn't it amazing how much land some of these rest stops have? I mean, it just seems to go on, and all you do is get out of your car in the parking lot, go use the bathroom, and then leave.
Right.
Yeah,
maybe with the car.
Right. So when you're off doing
hopefully
something,
with your car,
people are like, "What exactly are you doing in that tree with that owl? Why is that owl there?"
I'm stretching.
You're walking the dog. Where's the dog? Oh, I forgot I'm at home.
Oh, did I not get the dog out of the car?
You also have the option to restrict the placement guidelines. So if you want to say, okay, I only want newer caches because I have to get the caches since beginning of the year or some challenge or something, you can do that. Or older caches, older
caches. There you go.
Set the caches. Hey, I need to find 20 caches in 2017. You can just set that kind of stuff. You have the attributes that you can include and exclude, which typically on the road trip I don't do.
Is that one snakes?
Yes, there is the snake attribute.
I want to go somewhere there's.
Well, you can say no snakes. You can say no thorns.
Yeah, but you can say that you want snakes too, and you want thorns. Why would you choose that?
You can also say ones that don't need stealth. So what the exclude is saying is it can't have those attributes. So if it has any of those attributes, it's not going to exclude it.
Okay.
If
you might want
to have
turn off. You might want to turn off significant hike, but turn on, tourist friendly.
Right.
Right.
So, and
if I'm by myself, I want to exclude the extreme height ones.
Yeah.
We've run into that.
The
problem.
Exclude stuff, I have actually done at times, but I tend not to do those exclude ones because I've run into too many situations where it doesn't actually work.
Or it depends on if the cache owner has used those attributes.
Right, exactly. And all too often you just don't really use them. Yeah, Renee's laughing because Johnny cached 313. I'm having problems with your name today. I'm sorry. He wants to exclude stealthy snakes.
He just wants you to say that 10 times real fast.
Yeah, no.
10 times, 10 times, 10 times, 10 times, 10 times.
Yeah. But yeah. I love the attributes. I don't even use them as well as I should. So I can't really knock the people who don't use them at all.
Sure you can. Go ahead.
But I especially don't like when they're set up for scuba diving, for instance, as like a icon for ET Highway. It totally makes sense.
Right. Something that will never be used
in that area. Yeah.
In that area. But it's because the I've forgotten what the ET Highway is. It is a power trail because there is no power trail icon. Nor is there a gadget cache icon, though I believe headquarters says the field puzzle is what you should use in place of a gadget cache.
They do. Yeah, so the field puzzles can be a lot of fun too. All right, so let's go back to the screen share and we'll take a look at the Pocket Queries page where this now resides. So I have my Washington trip, which is indicated as a route Pocket Query by having the little funny turn symbol. So, and a quick thing on the list function or the Pocket Query list, the little sign with the right turn arrow, that's going to be anything that's a cache along a route. If you have the little lightning bolt, that's your traditional Pocket Query search kind of thing. And then the little bookmark icon, the book with a
bookmark in it
over is your bookmark list. So that's how you can get your bookmarks into a Pocket Query if you need to do that. But most of the time you have better ways to do that now. I still have some that obviously are still running. So this works just like any other pocket query. You have the little magnifying glass, which is going to give you the listing search. And you have the one that I like, which is the preview in geocaching maps, the little map icon.
Yes.
Because this gives you all of your caches along your route on the map. Yay.
Okay.
You didn't make it very far.
Wait a minute.
Oops.
I don't think this is the right one. Did I click the wrong one?
I think so.
Or is it still loading? Because it's in Canada, which is not at all what I had drawn.
According to Land Monkey, all roads take you through Canada. There you go. You made it a little farther on your trip this time.
Yeah. Okay.
There's
so
a
this
couple
is
caches on the way.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. Where are we? Oh, it's not even going to let me do this because my screen is set too small so that it will look good on YouTube. All right. So, see, this is what I like to do is I've got, look at all these. This is why I want to do this. Look at all the virtuals and stuff in DC that we can do.
Look at all the happy virtuals that are here.
Let's paint them.
Happy virtuals. Give me my happy virtuals. I want my happy virtuals. Okay.
You got an Earth cache.
Sings while he paints.
Yeah, we've got 2 Earth caches in here. Three. Sorry.
Oh,
4.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh no, there's one right here too. We have a hidden Earth cache.
An M&M trail. Wait.
It sounds delicious. Let's do the M&M trail.
All right, so as you're doing these caches along route, panning around, you do have your nice purple route, so that Renee's happy because it's purple.
It's purple.
To show you where you're going. But as we look at this, you can see it's not sticking to the road very well. All of these curves, it's just kind of going one big long straight line across all of them.
That's the way I drive.
As the crow flies, is that the route it's taking?
Pretty much.
Not quite.
It drops some points in to get the rough shape. This is why you have to give it a little bit more latitude. You can't say just give me everything half a mile off the road.
Right, because like that one is right on the trail, but not on the road.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's talking about this one down here for anyone who's watching. But this has one of those handy little service centers.
A rest stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, and I can tell by the map, which isn't loading now.
Oops.
I went too close. Which I can tell by the streets usually, because the freeways are going to be in that orange.
Uh-huh.
And they just kind of dead end, kind of off the side, and then pick up again. So I just kind of scroll until I find those. Let's see if I can find another one. See, that one's interesting because it's on the inside of the 2 sides of the road. This is
well, that other one was probably one that is on both sides, like you can take the little bridge over kind of thing.
No, it's in the center. So the freeway goes around it, and it's a shared space for both, probably.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, we'll just go here because this one is close enough that it might be, so you can click on it to go to it. But what I end up doing, see, you have this add to list. So this is what I really want, because that I create my bookmark lists off this, cherry pick them, and then I can go and import it into another service like Cache Torno, or create a pocket query and get the GPS file, a GPX file for the GPS. And of course, you're getting rid of all of these extra caches that are going to keep you from getting to your destination because you want to do them all.
Well, and some of them may not be accessible from the freeway. So it's a good idea to go through and look and say, okay, so this one looks like it's right next to the roadway. That's going to be a great find. And then you read and it says, not accessible from freeway. And it's ends up being like a 2-mile drive to it, even though it's just a few hundred feet off the actual freeway.
So that would be like the kind of thing that people driving from Chicago area to Detroit area would, double time their trip on getting here. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And a good example is, you have those nice big fences along the edge of the rest stops. And in many cases, there are caches just on the other side of that fence because it might happen to be a park, but you can't get to that park from the rest area.
Oh.
So it does pay unless it's clearly in the rest area. You know, like the one that we just looked at a little while ago. There's 2 caches right in that service center that's smack in the middle. You know, it's obvious it's going to be there. So that's when I just added to the bookmark list. However, I will go and add, or not add, but I'll go and open the page for some of those ones that look like they maybe would be accessible, especially the ones that are like at the gas station right off the freeway.
Right.
That's one that I'll almost always mark because it's going to be one that I can go to, you know, top off the car, get a cache, and get back on the road. So it makes it nice, quick, and easy. But I want to go and see what that is first, read the description, maybe read some of the logs before I add it to my list.
Makes sense.
All right. So, Chris, any other comments about cherry picking those caches?
No, you know, going through and looking to see if they've been found recently, because again, you know, on a road trip,
Definitely.
I'm really planning to get somewhere. So I don't want to spend 15, 20 minutes and find out, oh, you know what, it hasn't been found in 3 months and there's, you know, 2 DNFs on it. Let's just move on. So.
And I did do a lot of that previously, but I stopped kind of doing that now because you can do that with like Cache Torno. You can do some filtering in your caching apps. So I do much less of that in part because, you know, like, yeah, I'll do a route like that where I make the bookmark list a month in advance just because, like, I haven't had a chance to do any caching for over a month now. But I haven't gotten a chance to.
Every other weekend you get iced in or snowed in, whatever. Anyway, so
yeah, and work is crazy.
Same here.
Like, sometimes I'm just going to get the route done, get it, you know, get the caches on the bookmark list, and then leave it. And then if nothing else, I can go back and revisit it. But I have it in case I don't have time to do that. So I can take that list into Cache Torno, run the filters and everything on that, and it can tell me, I can see in my caching app whether it has it or not. And I do recommend that if you are using something like Cache Torno or your caching app, make sure to download it before you leave.
Yes, don't rely on data once you're out on the road.
Exactly.
Because there are huge sections of highway without any cell coverage.
Yes.
Well, apparently we've blown Johnny Cash 313's mind tonight.
I'm sorry. We'll put it back together when we're done.
Give it back.
I apologize. But this has been one of those quick overviews, and a lot of people don't really spend the time to get to know this function. And it is one of those things that you really just need to spend some time to get a feel for how it works. There are some quirks. I have not run into problems recently, but we've run into some of the routes before where it had some issues. So if you do have something that didn't work quite right, you might need to create a whole new route and a whole new pocket query. Sometimes just the new pocket query. But yeah, there's some quirkiness that we've seen in the past. I haven't seen it in a long time, though. So don't worry about it. Don't expect it. But
yeah,
they have it.
And I think this is a lot better than just stopping somewhere, pulling out the phone and opening up the geocaching app and saying, what's near me? This allows you to sort by favorites, do other things, and say, you know what, this one is worth stopping for. So,
well, and another note is you can take those routes and share them. So I can take a route, share it with Renee, and she can create the pocket query. I can create the pocket query, and then she can see the ones that she has not found, even though I might not have them.
Right. Now, this tool doesn't allow you to say, you know, show me the caches that, you know, Renee and Daryl neither have found.
Correct. Yeah. For that, you have to take it into something else.
But this is really helpful to me to see how this works, because you've tried to explain it, but you haven't showed it to me. And we're just in the car, and I'm like catching up on something, and he's like, "All right, are you ready?" And I'm like, "Ready for what? Where did it come from?"
I've been doing this for years. She's trying to play catch up, and I've never gone through how we're doing any of the planning. And a lot of that isn't in the caches along a route, but it is the cherry picking.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll go and do the cherry picking even without caches along a route, just like manually panning through an area of denser caches, trying to figure out a good way to route through those.
So Daryl, just in case you wanted to know, I went to Pocket Queries, and there's create a new query, find caches along a route.
Oh, it still does have caches along a route.
It still has it, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, they haven't deprecated the name entirely, but it's probably going away.
And you click to it, and it goes to user routes.
Yes. So yeah, okay. That's basically just another shortcut then to get to the same thing we just showed.
Right. So from Pocket Queries, you can get there as well.
Right. Which I thought there was a way, but I didn't look at that in ages. So.
I really wish this was something I could turn a little bit better into a math lesson. I was trying to explain to my students why we're planning a road trip. He's like, "Why don't you just fly?"
Oh, jeez. The children of millennials, I guess.
Right. But because it came up
into the driving, so
a story problem of create your own, pretend you're going on a road trip. Why you need to set yourself up for the problem. What kind of things do you need to, how do you plan for the road trip? I'm thinking in my head. Well,
and I think for those of us on the show right now, our parents were the last of the generation that was into the great road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. My parents weren't included in that.
I got so tired of the road trips that
I'm surprised you still do that.
Bounce Pal says he agrees with the students. No road trips flying. But then you can't find those caches in all those states along the way.
Right, because I still don't have caches in very many states. I have some in California, right?
Yep, you have some in California.
And then
you have Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan.
Kentucky.
Kentucky and Georgia. I think that might be it. We'd have to go and log in and see.
And I technically I have one in Canada, but that's because it came here. I still haven't cached.
No, we haven't cached in Canada.
No, because I have to renew my passport.
Yes.
Or bring our marriage certificate with us.
Oh, I think you still need the passport, actually.
No,
Or, yeah, do you have the enhanced driver's license, right? I don't remember. There was some reason why we couldn't go. I couldn't go for a little while because I had let my passport lapse and didn't get it renewed. So I got that renewed, and then something else was keeping us from going. But I ended up going with Scott and Jesse and stayed right along the riverfront, so we actually still had signal. But it's tough to go to a foreign country anymore for like those quick little trips like I used to do, because the GPS or the data on the side of data is so important to us now that we're not using the GPS, but rather using the phones.
I mean, data, even when I was trying to use maps when my friend had a baby in Windsor and I got across the border, and I'm like, now what? I still don't know where I am, and my GPS doesn't work.
Yeah, and this is a hazard of using the maps on your phone. Almost none of the mapping apps actually have downloaded maps. They're always grabbing it from the servers. Some of them will cache, and if you're using Google Maps, you can actually control which ones you're caching. But like Apple Maps, and I don't believe Waze even will download the maps. So if you don't have a live data connection, you might get stuck without any navigation.
Right. But you had a phone that had them downloaded, and I was supposed to be able to use it, and it didn't work when I was there.
Well, yeah, I think you went
signal.
you went to the wrong app, I think, because I had Navigon on there.
Mm-hmm.
This is back in the day, and Navigon
part of
doesn't
the other
exist
problem
anymore.
is they have two hospitals with the same name in Windsor.
Oh yeah, you remember Navigon because it kept taking us in the wrong directions back in Cincinnati down the Donut Trail.
Yes.
Oh, that was terrible. It's like, okay, you deserve to die now.
But the Donut Trail was fun.
I love Navigon. It was the best app, and then they really screwed
In the
it up.
day, it was good.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to still have it as it was, but when they tried to improve it, they made it worse. And a lot of that was the maps that they switched to sucked, which I think was Here Maps.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Some days I miss triptychs.
All right. Why don't we wrap it up, Chris? What do you think?
I think so. So there you go. Caches along a route, user routes, whatever you want to call it. It's right there on geocaching.com. You do have to be a premium member, so there's that caveat. But it's a good tool to, at least get you the caches. Well, how do I say it? Along your route, where you're going.
Yeah, and it works for like road trips. It works for hiking. It works for bike trips. Whatever you want to do. It's just the tool that lets you create the routes is designed for a car. It doesn't work for like walking and stuff. So that in that case, you have to use another one and another tool, and then upload your GPX, KML, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
Renee's laughing at something.
I like Johnny Cash 313. You see, kids.
There's this Tupperware out there. And my husband and I, we got to find it.
I like
All
that.
right. Well, next week is going to be a randomized show, and we're going to have Land Monkey on for that one.
Ooh.
Any of your comments, tips, tricks, if you have questions about this, if you want to
Canadian insults.
Yeah,
save them all for next week.
Bounce has been sending me some of the feedback that he's getting from all of our great audience members about his appearances on here. Share some of that with us if you want. Let us know what you're planning to do with those cool cache containers. And the problem is, after talking with him about the what do we call them? The treasure box? No, that's not what we call
puzzle
them.
boxes.
Puzzle boxes. Yeah, not that. I keep having this vision of like a trivia puzzle box like that, where you have to pick, like ABC on the two sides. So it's, two players, a player versus player version. And whichever player wins, it shoots a path tag at them.
Not too hard. Boom.
Oh no, hard enough. It shoots a path tag at the loser hard enough to leave an impression on their forehead
and bounce into the hand of the winner.
Exactly. And then that way they both get to claim it. Look, I've got the impression right. I've got the numbers backwards on my head.
Exactly.
Like an Indiana Jones thing. I can find it.
You know what I was just thinking? We should get a path tag with a tracking number on it, with the regular GC tracking number on it, and hand those out to everybody and let the chaos begin.
Gee, this sounds familiar. All right. But share your feedback, your comments, your questions, tips, tricks, all that kind of stuff with us at GeoGearHeads at CacheManiacs.com, because next week is that randomized show, and we are planning on doing the Bounce is offering to make a puzzle box for us. That would be awesome. So anyway, next week, send all that stuff in, and we are planning on doing the patron bonus show. So we'll be getting a little silly, I'm sure, after that.
There you go. And until then, make sure you check out the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So send us feedback by emailing GeoGearHeads at cacheamaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cacheamaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cacheamaniac shows. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show's copyright 2019 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cache with the Cacheamaniacs.